there, and welcome back. I'm Lisa, and this is Hamsterneck Living. The last few episodes I've done have been a little more high-end about post-processing and multiple exposures. So today I thought I'd talk about composition and quite simply how to look for and how to make a composition when you're walking through the woods. So let's go. So I am at Lake Lansing Park North, and there are trails all through here, miles and miles of trails, and it's just gorgeous. But I'm going to take a look right up here, and I want to show you one of the first things to think about in the woods. And that is how busy the scene is. So woodlands can tend to be a little bit chaotic. In the summer, when you have all of the undergrowth, it can make it really hard to find your basic composition, something that draws your eye through the picture and simplifies things. Right through here, there's kind of a neat tree going right through there, that curved one. But I'm not even going to try to get it because with all the other branches hanging down and so much undergrowth of all different kinds of plants all through here, there's just so much chaos. It's hard to find anything in this section of the woods. But just a few steps away, right through here, even though it's still wild and woods, it's a much more simple place to look for patterns or trees that frame other things. So that's the first thing I would note in the woodlands. There's sort of the chaotic stuff back in there, or the sort of simplified woods where you still have the tall grasses, but it's just a little bit calmer, a little bit simpler. The next thing is to try to isolate a tree or whatever you're trying to take a picture of. So there's a couple ways to isolate it. Number one, there are so many bugs here. Number one is obviously if it's a tree standing off on its own. Number two is if there's haze or fog dividing that particular tree that you're taking a picture of from the trees behind it or near it. The other thing that you can use is sunlight. So let me show you right back over here. I'm seeing some really pretty trees with some sunlight behind it that sort of makes the tree stand out a bit. So I didn't even bring my big camera because I really wanted this to be about the composition and not all the settings. So all I have with me is my phone. The first thing I did was try to cut out some of the sky because it can be really distracting when you have that bright sun. However, if you look at the tree in the middle, it's sort of framed by the two trees on the side. And then there's these patches of light that are almost drawing a line right to that tree right in the middle. And it makes a really nice composition. So that is one of the things you can do. Now, so in this one, I have not only a tree that is isolated right up in here, but I also have this one and this one sort of framing up the shot so that you really are forced in, your eyes are forced in, and then you see this bright spot of light right here that's diagonally coming through and pointing at the tree also. So that's both the leading lines, the framing, and the isolation. And those are all things you can look at when you're trying to find a more simple photo in a very busy set of woods. The other thing that you can do in the woods is just look for patterns, which sometimes is very simply all of the tree trunks all lined up with the sun behind them. And the backlit leaves then look really pretty. So the trick then is to get separation. And what I mean by that is, if you can have each of the trees that your main focus is on separated and not overlapping. If my focus is on these two trees, here and here, then if I move over this way, they're kind of overlapping. And when they're overlapping like that, It makes it so it's hard to tell one tree from another, and it takes away from the composition. So when you're trying to set up the picture with all of the trees sort of lined up side by side kind of looking, you want to step away to the left or right to make sure that you're getting the separation. So now, as you can see, there's a little bit of space between those two trees there. And what's nice is over here, there's more moss on the ground than undergrowth. So let's see if we can come up with, okay, here we go. So if I turn just a little bit this way, I'm getting less of the sky in the shot, and then I can just kind of keep adjusting until I feel like I have the trees separated the way I want them. So by coming over this way some and getting closer to the ground, I have that brightly lit moss, but I was able to cut some of the sky over here, out of the shot, but still have the moss in. The next thing you want to think about in the woods is the sunlight. Now, I am out here in the evening. It is about 6:15. So the sun is still pretty high up over here, but it's coming through and it's starting to go low and it's coming at an angle, so it's not quite so bright. That makes a big difference, because if you have sun blasting through, then the dynamic range, in other words, the difference between the highest brights and the lowest darks, the blackest blacks, can be so much. To me, I find it sometimes distracting. Some people really like those photos, but I like it, maybe you'd call it clipped a little bit in on both ends. And I also think it's just a softer light when you get it coming in at an angle instead of that straight blasting down. So there you have a few ideas. We'll call them tips for making a composition in the woods. So I hope you find this helpful. The most important thing is to get out and practice. And I recommend bug spray, because clearly I was not prepared for this one. Enjoy your adventure. Peace.